Most of the candidates, I would say 8 out of 10, don't really follow that process in the interview, especially when they meet the stressful situation. Repeat this process monotonously every time as you're solving the case, and look what is going to happen to you. So now, as you know, these top 5 mistakes, please try to avoid them in order to succeed.
Hello guys, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm very happy to see all of you here today again at our weekly webinar simulation, because today we're going to know how to get an offer from Mbp and solve a market entry case. Let me tell you the agenda for our today's webinar. It will last just 60 minutes. First of all, we will give you some information about Mbp. Then we will do interactive case part with our candidate. After that, we're going to share with you our value proposition. In the end of the webinar, we're going to do interactive Q&A session. It's me again, Alyssa Kim. In case you have any questions, you know what to do. And now let me show you a little video about our coaches. So please listen attentively.
Consulting Masters presents. Let us find out more about our experts. Andrea Hamolenka. Andrea is the CEO of the company with more than 7 years of experience in consulting. He is an ex-senior manager and has interviewed more than 115 candidates for different positions in Roland Berger in Munich, Kiev, and Dubai. Moreover, he made a fast-track career from a consultant to acting project manager in just 17 months. Andrea has been coaching from 2014 to help mentees receive offers from the top consulting firms. Our next expert is Gaurav Bhosle. Gaurav is an ex-McKinsey and a full-time career coach since 2013. 500+ clients coached by Gaurav already work in top consulting firms, and more than 200 clients are currently working at Mbp. He has 6 years of strategy consulting experience in Europe, MENA, and Asia, working in 15+ industries and 20+ countries. Gaurav grew from an entry level to senior manager in 6 years. He's an ICF certified career transition coach and an interpreter with 2 successful startups and owns a recruiting firm. And now let us greet our experts.
And let me just add, they're not just professionals, they're not just ex-consultants and current coaches. They were also part of recruitment team, so they know the whole process from the inside. So you can definitely learn something from them, and with their help, you will definitely receive your dream job, okay? And now I'm gonna move the word to Andrea Hamolenka, so please welcome.
Hello, Alyssa. Hello, also everyone. I'm so glad to see you back here. I also see here some fresh faces, so very warm welcome from my side. Let us basically get started today with the webinar. So there are several types of cases which could be given to you during the interview stages. For example, this could be strategy cases, this could be market sizing cases, this could be profitability case, this could be also a market entry case. So market entry case, which we are going to solve together today, is one of the very most common types of the cases which are given at the different levels of consulting interviews, whether it's a first round or it's a second interview round. And that's why we want to make a deep dive on that specific topic today to help you get better prepared for your upcoming interviews. Let's basically start with the content part. Before that, I want to share with you one of the stories, and which I found truly inspiring, and I want our customers to speak for themselves. So please kindly meet Edward Fayard. I think it was truly inspiring story for me personally, because what I can also tell you about Edward is that after he started his internship with Roland Berger, after the first 3 weeks, he was actually offered a full-time job. He was converted, and getting in consulting through internship is even easier for you than through the full-time offer, because the hurdle is not that high. So that's why be proactive, use the opportunity, also be like Edward, raise your questions, and we'll be more than happy to answer all of them. So now let's have a look into the content part. And I would like to focus today on the few things. First of all, I want to explain you the specifics of the interview process at Mbp and basically all other major leading consulting firms worldwide. I want to share with you some of my experience from the recruiting team of what most of the candidates, what are the top mistakes that they are doing, unfortunately, and what do you need to take into account in order to avoid them. Later on, we will be also doing the market entry case simulation so that you can experience live and you are able to crack it, to solve it together with us, write your answers, write your questions in the chat so that we can see how we can tackle these issues. And then we also want to answer all your questions as well as give you some tricks and tips during the interactive coaching session later on during the webinar. Okay, so let's get it started, basically. I want to give you a quick tip on how typically most of the cases in consulting interviews could be solved. So the process is always consistently the same. Imagine if I am an interviewer and you are the candidate. I ask you the question first. The first thing that you need to do is to make sure that you fully understood the case question. How you can do this? Simply by paraphrasing the question in your own words. And then in the next step, it's very essential that you start asking clarifying questions. It's really key that you ask a few good clarifying questions before moving on with outlining the case structure. So many candidates, this is one of the most common mistakes. So many candidates are not doing this and they don't understand what the case is all about. So that's why they're trying to solve the wrong case. If you don't understand their initial situation and their objectives, then you don't have a clear picture. And then you are already trying to build the bridge to nowhere. That's why please don't repeat this mistake in your interviews or in your preparation process. Always ask good clarifying questions. To give you just 3 examples, good clarifying questions could be number 1, about the existing business model of the business, to better understand how does the client makes money. Second type of the question would be to clarify the specific objective of the case, especially if it's a profitability case. For example, by how much should our profitability be increased until when? So specific KPIs, metrics, or time frame. And then third type of the question could be the questions about the service, about market or the customers of our client, etc. After you have asked a few clarifying questions, then tell the interviewer, ask him, can I maybe get some time to structure my thoughts and then get back to you? And then you take this minute or 2 to structure your thought and to outline the approach. It should be MISI. MISI means in consulting language, mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. It means that it needs to have at least 2-3 components, so-called buckets in the structure, and that they should be comprehensive. They should be covering all the topics, all the objectives which are needed to be solved during the case. Then you can basically, in the next step, work out on that structure, present it to the interviewer, and lead the case. Then you start requesting for the data. In that data, you do quantitative and qualitative analysis. You summarize your outcomes. You communicate always with your interviewer, explaining him what exactly are you going to do, and you think out loud always, keeping in touch with an interviewer, and then you summarize it and you move from bucket to bucket or from question to question until the final outcome. And then maybe an interviewer will be asking you just before closing the case, he will be asking like, Rishin, can you maybe quickly summarize the case outcome for the CEO who is coming very soon? Then again, don't stress yourself. Say, okay, yes, sure. Can I maybe have another moment of time to structure my thoughts? And then you are preparing yourself for delivering a final recommendation pitch. And the final recommendation pitch should be structured in the following way. First, you restate the case objectives. Second, you give that direct recommendation to that specific case. Third, you may outline some potential risks if there are any. Fourth, you need to mention what could be the potential next steps. And then just add your recommendation with a very simple question to the interviewer back, saying something like, do you have any questions? And then keep calm and look what is going to happen to you. So repeat this process monotonously every time as you're solving the case. Okay? Is it clear what I'm telling to you? Can you guys follow? Can you also maybe identify to me whether this is also useful for you and helpful, all these instructions? I also want to highlight to you what are the typical 5 mistakes which I have observed so far during the interview process as I was interviewing candidates on my own. Most common was that people were underestimating personal fit parts of the interview. They were already failing a part in the first part of the interview, and they arrived pretty stressed during to the case part because they didn't manage to have a good rapport and good answers to be delivered during the personal fit part. That's why number 1 consequence, please adequately prepare yourself to both personal fit part as well as the case part of the interview to be good at all times during the interview. And secondly, most of the candidates, I would say 8 out of 10, don't really follow that process in the interview, especially when they meet the stressful situation. And as a consequence, they also tend to not to ask clarifying questions and don't really understand the case objectives, which results in your structure being not comprehensive, not covering all the aspects. And therefore, so many candidates are just confused. They're not able to drive the case, which is also something that we, during the recruiting, are looking for. because we want to see the people who are able to drive the case independently. So now, as you know, these top 5 mistakes, please try to avoid them in order to succeed. And there are further 5 more steps which you need to do in order to receive the job offer. They're pretty simple, as in every job application, but they are easier to say than to be done. The number 1 is to have a clear application strategy along with your very good polished CV and cover letter in order to have the prerequisites to apply. Step number 2 is to set up the interview invites through networking, because networking nowadays is the best key for you to secure the interview invites and avoid rejections. Step number 3 is to prepare yourself for the fit part of the interview and for the case part interview equally well and very intensively. But then, of course, during the process, to train your emotional resilience and to be at your best during the interview day. Because during the interview dates, you might be facing really unpleasant person who will be challenging you as much as they can. And then it's also all about consistency in your performance. So recruiters are looking only for those candidates who are able to crack all 6 or 8 interviews, basically, who are able to perform and outperform consistently during the entire interview cycle. So cracking one case or cracking one personal fit part is not enough. You need to do this in the constant manner. And now I also want to pass the words to Gaurav and to Rishin. Maybe you guys can also introduce yourself briefly so that we could start with a case interview simulation.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm Rishin. I'm a recent MBA graduate working in strategic and operational roles. And I completed my MBA last year. And this year, I'm trying to get into consulting predominantly in the Middle East.
Let's jump into the case, Rishin. Imagine this is the first round of an MBP interview.
Okay.
Our client is a multinational refrigerated food company and is contemplating the introduction of refrigerated pizza product to the US market. Now, understand this, that a few years ago, this company RFC entered the refrigerated food market already, introducing the pasta and the toppings, which was very successful, basically entry, earning the sales of over 200 million in 2 years. Now, the management of RFC plans to extend its product line into pizza and now has hired your company to help them assess the new market opportunity and advise whether they should launch or not this new product.
Thank you for this case, Gaurav. Let me paraphrase a bit so that I understand I got the information. Mm-hmm. So this company, refrigerated food company, let's say RFC, is already into the refrigerated pasta business, right? And it's in US. And They want to find out whether they can go into refrigerated pizza business in the United States. And they want our help to make sure whether it makes sense or not. Is it?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So trying to understand what kind of company is a refrigerated food business. So what do? They make the pizza, they refrigerate the pizza and they sell it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the intention. At this point of time, in terms of the pasta, what they are doing is they are actually creating the boiled pasta, and the toppings and the sauce, and that is available, as you can see in the picture, in the form of kind of a ready to take home. You heat it up, mix it, and eat it. So that's the kind of product that they are into.
So looking at this picture, so they do sell through the distribution channel, being the supermarkets.
Absolutely.
Now, trying to understand, the success criteria. So I know that for the pasta business, they made 200 million in 2 years. So do they have any success criteria for this pizza business as well?
Absolutely. It's a very good question. The success criteria they have in mind is the sales of around 80 million in first year.
Got it. I think I got the gist of the prompt. Can I just take a moment to come up with a structure about how to address this issue?
Please.
So, Gaurav, can I just go ahead and explain?
Please go ahead.
So what we are trying to address out here is, should we enter into this pizza business? To do this, I have created 4 buckets. One is market, another is a market share that we can capture. The third is the financials. Fourth is the feasibility and risk. So in market, what I will look into is the size of the market and the growth in the market. So this will basically give me whether this market really makes sense. Then the next bucket, which is the market share, what I really need to find out about who are the competitors in this market, what the customers actually look for, and how much of this customers preference. This will link me back to the third bucket, which is the financial bucket, which gives me which I have divided into revenue and cost. This revenue will be coming from the market share, or we can find out the revenue from quantity and price. Multiplying quantity and price. In the cost, I will look into the variable cost of the frozen pizzas, the fixed cost, and the investments. In the feasibility bucket, I will look into the strategic feasibility because, they are already in a piece of business, whether there will be any cannibalization. If they are already in the pasta business, whether there will be any cannibalization if they go into the pizza business. The financial feasibility of making an investment and coming into this pizza sector. And as a risk, we can think about finding out some alternatives, other than pizza if they want to enter. That will be all from the structures perspective. Unless you have a specific bucket that you want to guide upon, I would first dive upon the market and try to understand the size of the market. What do you think?
That's a good idea to start with. I'm just wondering, you spoke about risk of finding out alternative. What does that mean?
So the thing is, they're trying to, enter into the pizza market, right? And they're in the pasta market. I'm just trying to think that their objective is to generate 80 million in a year. Maybe other alternatives other than pizza, they will be generating, 100 million in a year. So we will need to look into other alternatives, which we are not currently looking into. And we are trying to focus only on the pizza right now. So that's one of the risks of missing out.
Why would you look into alternatives if the mandate is about whether to launch pizza or not? Looking at any other things, right? Does it even make sense?
I'm losing you, Gaurav.
Isn't it a scope creep? Isn't it a scope violation?
Got it. I got your point. That makes a lot of sense. So let's then leave out the alternative for the time being. And let's then focus on the market if it's okay with you.
Why do you think cannibalization is a risk?
So I'm just trying to think, the people, as you mentioned in the prompt as well, these are the people who come to the store in the supermarket and buy ready to cook products. So ready to cook products, when they're coming to buy for dinner, let's say, or evening lunch, evening snacks, they can buy pretty much both of them, right? So both the pasta or the pizza. So either of them. So I was just trying to think, if you are into both the businesses, maybe there to some extent you will lose out on your pasta business because some of them will be choosing the pizza over the pasta. So that's a cannibalization that I'm looking into.
Fair enough, but you didn't inquire that whether we are talking about the same market.
So you said about the US market, isn't it?
Yeah, but the distribution can be different, no?
Oh, okay. So let me clarify that again. So are we talking about the same distribution channel like the supermarkets for the pasta and the pizza?
We are, but without that clarification, the cannibalization doesn't make sense. Okay?
Got it.
Okay, good. So let's start off with market sizing now. Yeah. Tell me, how would you estimate the market size for the refrigerated pizza market in US?
Perfect. So can I just take a moment to structure out how I want to segment this market?
Yes, absolutely. Please go ahead.
So Gaurav, how I will size this market is I will first go from the population side. So I will first think about the population of US, the number of people in each household, and thereby I will try to find out the number of households. Why I'm thinking of number of households is because pizza, predominantly if you buy a pizza, it will be like on a family basis, right? We will buy for the family. So once I get there, I will divide this number of households into income level of high, medium, and low. And then I will find out the percentage who will be willing to buy frozen, ready to eat products, right? To have meals. Once I get there, I will.
Hello, Nishin, I'm losing you.
Probably he has some issues with the connection.
Why don't we throw this question to anyone else who wants to take it in the group?
Would you like to volunteer and solve the case? You have a chance to crack it and get a free coaching.
Yep. Let me know, how do you want to do the estimation?
I already wrote it down. I think maybe another person can take a shot at it.
Mustafa or Hector, would you like to present your structures?
Sure. Well, I'm thinking fast here. I don't know. I thought that maybe I will understand the frequency of purchase of these products already launched at this specific distribution channel, and their average tickets to understand the potential sales based on to have a reference to estimate the pizza market. So based on this, I can understand better an estimation of the potential of pizza's sales based on the launch price that we want to launch, economic price that makes sense, multiplied by its reference of frequency that I get from point to one, and the quantity of supermarkets that I want to launch my new product. And from this, I will achieve a number that I can compare if 80 million is feasible or not compared to the 200 million for other products that we already launched.
Okay. I'll comment on this. Any other approach from anyone else?
I think I have a slightly different approach. My approach would be obviously start from the population of the amount of people living in the US. Mm-hmm. And then you would obviously estimate the percentage of people who would frequently eat frozen pizza. Obviously, this would be, something I agree with you. And from there, I would estimate the frequency which they buy. How many times do they buy like this frozen pizza per month or per week or whatever? And then multiply that by the average price of the frozen pizza in the market, obviously with your help. So population.
How would you identify those who would eat frozen pizza?
It's just an estimation. So you can just say like...
but how? I know it's estimation, but estimating basis what?
Can I jump on here, please, if you don't mind?
Let Mustafa
Sure.
take his or tell us his point of view. I understand it's estimation, Mustafa. The point is, basis what? What's the basis of estimating that? So it would be interesting for us to understand.
So I think not all people buy frozen pizza. It's something that probably 1 out of 10 people would buy, or maybe even less. So
that is a quantification. My point is, it's a new market for us, right? Yeah. And what we're thinking about is whether we should launch this particular product or not, right? And so you are going bottom up. So in the same spirit of bottom up estimation, are there any basis that you can build to understand how many people would probably buy a frozen pizza? Or you're assuming that there is a market, you will pick that number from the market?
It's very hard to just quantify this number. If you want to know it, you just have to just calculate the shelf life or the shelf space in all the supermarkets, but that would be extremely complicated. That's why I went with another direction,
That's a very interesting approach, yeah. So you can actually understand the market for frozen food, right?
Yeah.
And then probably we can think about what is the share of an Italian cuisine, yeah, and probably what is a part of pizza. That can be one approach. Yeah, good. I think someone else wanted to chip in. Rishin, we are just taking others' point of view, and I'll come to you in a minute. Yeah.
Yes, Gaurav, Andre this side. So I was just thinking in another way. Obviously, when we want to quantify into segmentations, obviously either dividing into families, or else even a better approach would be dividing into demographic based on age. So we divide the factors into age, then divide into percentage of people. Fragment that into people who would like to eat frozen food and not. And then under having frozen food, how many would like to have pizza? And then under pizza, for an example, if pizza, then the frequency of having pizza, and then the cost of it multiplied by the total number per year. So we get on this. We get the market size of the pizza, frozen pizza in the US.
Okay. Rishin, back to you. Can you just tell us your logic and probably...
where did you guys lose me? Like the entire market?
Let's say US market, and then it was like a pizza.
Okay. So I think it's pretty much same as I think Hector pointed it out. So I will start with the population of United States, the number of people in the household. This will give me the total number of households, because I'm just trying to think that the main driver will be the number of households buying the pizza. It's a white product kind of thing. Then I will divide it into income level. And then once I divide into income level, I will try to find out the percentage who will be buying frozen ready-to-eat pizza. And then next will be the percentage who will be buying, frozen ready-to-eat food. And the next will be percentage who will be buying pizza out of the ready-to-eat. Then I will multiply it with the frequency of buying in a year or in a week, and then take it to a year. This will give me the total size of the market in terms of quantity. And then I will multiply it with the price. And the price, we can find out an average from the different types of pizza. So we will take an average from there. So this is how I was thinking about sizing this market. But then, you pointed out something that, how will we find out the percentage of the people who will buy pizza out of the ready-to-eat food? I was just trying to think, how will a consulting company will do if they have no information? Yeah, one of them is that the store-based, as someone rightly pointed out, this is a good one. We can think about data analytics. We can ask expert interviews. We can, I think these three will be top three things in my mind that a consulting company will be doing to identify the percentage of the people who are buying frozen food and who will be buying pizza out of the frozen food.
You can okay. I think we should debrief at this point of time, because we have invested a lot of time in this one. Yeah, Andre, I think if you agree, then probably let's stop the case over here and let's do a debrief.
What I would be actually very interested to know is how did Rishin cope with that, and how would you probably have done this if this question has been thrown to you?
Sure. I'll answer that one by one. So Rishin, overall, the part of the caselet that you worked on, couple of feedbacks. I think you started pretty well, good paraphrasing. You understood the case well, clarification questions were good. However, given that we were talking about launching similar product in the same market, whether there is a distribution channel, there is a geography overlap, etc., you could have clarified that, so that you can make that cannibalization point much more confidently. In terms of the structure, I think I already challenged you on one. The risk that you spoke about, I don't think it made very much sense. Cannibalization came a little bit without base, but that I think cannibalization should be there, but with a good base in the clarification. Question, in the structure, I wonder whether market and market share, two branches were necessary, or you could have had market attractiveness as a single branch. There is nothing wrong from a messiness perspective over here. Only thing is, I think it's a waste of a branch if you divide it at this point of time. So that's the very quick feedback on the structure. Now let's come to market sizing, guys, and I'll give you an overall feedback to everyone over here. yet, right? The first thing that none of you actually have done is to inquire that what's the outcome metric for the estimation. Are we talking about number of pizzas? Are we talking about number of dollars? Yeah. You should always start off by understanding in any analysis that what's the outcome metric. So on that count, probably all of you made a mistake. Coming back to the analysis, now so structuring the analysis, problem structuring is not a definitive science. 50 people can structure it in 50 different ways and all of them can be right or wrong. In this particular case, I would say to get it like really, really exhaustive, I would say I can actually use both demand and supply side. Though I would say the demand side is stronger, but the amazing answer, I can probably start off by saying this, that if I need to estimate the market or in order for estimating the market for frozen pizzas, I would triangulate demand and supply side. First of all, from demand side, I would start off and then you talk about your population. If you want to do household, see some of these things you can actually justify. Household, you can always say, you can have the primary key as household because mostly frozen pizzas would be taken up by a household. In the office, you wouldn't order a frozen pizza, right? You would typically go for a hot one, but whatever. So you use the bottom up build up from population to the pizza demand. And then you can say, and on the other hand, I would also like to estimate, from a perspective of our market, right? How much is the frozen rack supply, or what's the kind of availability that is there in the market, and to allocate what out of it would go for pizza. I can use a parallel of normal pizza to pasta proportion in the same demographic. If somebody's eating frozen, I'm drawing a parallel that they would be probably in the same proportion are eating the hot one. So some logic I can build, and I can also have that top down or supply side. And when these guys meet together, these two approaches is where we can get our estimate. That is the way of explaining. Understand that right now I'm in the process of impressing the interviewer on a business logic. Once I do this, I ask him that now, if you think that we are on the same page on the logic, can you tell me whether you have any data along the demand or supply? And then mostly interviewer will not have data on both. So he will tell you to choose one and he will do calculation. So calculation need not be that complicated. But just the very fact that you are talking about demand and supply and triangulation, is top class. And again, individually, of course, you can divide it. And a lot of the factors that you guys have spoke about are right. So as exhaustive you would go, that would be, or as granular you would go, it would be great. But overall, you can structure the answer like this. I hope it helps you guys.
Do you have any questions, ladies and gentlemen, to what you have heard, maybe to the case, or maybe to how to solve it, or maybe you also need another general advice from us? Feel free to write them into the chat. Otherwise, we will also now continue with the remaining content that we also wanted to showcase to you. So if you have any question, just put it into the chat or raise your hand so that we can address them. Over the past 40 minutes, you have seen quite a few contents about the peculiarities of Mbp case interviews, or how to successfully solve the market entry case. What are the most common mistakes, and how to get an offer from Mbp? How the case interview actually looks like, as we were just simulating this for you. You can still continue to do that alone. Try to look for additional information. There is plenty of information over YouTube, or if you start Googling, you can easily lose the track. And on the other hand, we are more than happy to help you and assist you to help you to receive your job offers, to receive also your interview invites, and to convert them into offers with all our expertises. We have helped already 583 people to get into consulting over the past few years. And what does that mean exactly for you? So I have some very good news for you, because the pandemic, at least in consulting, is already over. And nowadays, consulting firms are very active on recruiting and hiring. They have resumed picked up hiring quite a lot. Just today, I had a call with the alumni manager from Roland Berger in Germany, and she told me the situation is very critical, that they have so many new projects incoming, but they don't know how to stuff them because they are missing the people in the team. And that's why Roland Berger and most of other leading consulting firms worldwide, not only in Germany or in Central Europe, but also in the Middle East, in North America, in Southeastern Asia, everywhere around the world, they are expanding their capabilities, and they're hungry looking for candidates. So that's why just pick this chance, because now is the best time for you to apply. In the next 3 to 4 months, you will get the best chances to receive your offers. You can also become a member of one of our VIP programs, the way that Rishin from IEC has also subscribed to that. We would be very privileged and happy to help you to serve you. So if you want to do this, please get in touch with our client manager, Alessa. You can always book book a free call with her to have an analysis of your specific situation and also understand what are your needs and how we can basically help you in your specific case. Yeah, and then maybe on the next page, there is also one more thing which I wanted to share with you. That was actually Ahmad Shamsuddin, one of our recent VIP alumni graduate who received a job offer from EY-P and joined as a senior associate in summer last year. He was telling about his story. You can still find this video also on our YouTube channel, so feel free to subscribe to our YouTube, keep in touch, or as well to all our further social media. You can follow us and get in touch in Facebook, Instagram, and of course LinkedIn. And Alessa, I just want to pass the word to you. Can you maybe help us with the moderation of the Q&A?
Yes, now we're going to do a Q&A session. So I think that we have a first question from Lee Sin. So after case, just want to confirm, if I understood it correctly, at estimation, we should bring both demand and supply side and ask about availability data points.
Yes. So in this case, that was relevant to bring in demand and supply. Of course, then ask for the data. Asking for the data is always a second step. And don't start any estimation by asking data, because you will get a retaliation by the interviewer asking for what kind of data do you need. Yeah. So always remember business logic first, data request next. Not just in interviews, but also in consulting life.
Yeah, thank you, Gaurav, for your answer. And also, guys, please aware that you can also raise your hand and ask your question personally. So just turn on your microphone, your camera, give a brief introduction about yourself, and ask your question. Use this unique opportunity today.
Hi, I'm Meghna. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I have a question. Like, I do understand that you can assist in cases and how to go through the interviews and even the behavioral, rounds of the interview. My question is more coming from a personal experience. I have applied to the MBBs last year and I did not my CV did not get shortlisted. So my question is there any kind of assistance that you could give on that? Because I believe that's step one. And after that, of course, we could work with you and to work on cases, etc. But the biggest hurdle for me personally right now is to get that call from one of these companies that I intend to apply for.
Thank you, Mana, for your question. Basically, we do help with that networking approach and strategy, which is widely used by most of our mentees, where we give you the instruments and sometimes even direct connections, depending on the region, on the company and the position, to help you out to find the right people, to reach out to them, to do the coffee chats with them, and to convince them on how to receive the referrals from them. That's the trick. I can tell you about it in more details later on, actually. So yes, we provide help also on helping you to secure the interview rights.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you, Meghna, for your question. So another question from Nusrat in the chat. Hi all, I have a question about the hiring possibilities for people without business or any industry background. I have just finished my PhD in anthropology and want to get into consulting, but I have doubts that with pure academic background, I will have big chances. Thank you.
Gaurav, would you like to speak about IREM or maybe other people in our community?
I think consulting is one career where the background doesn't matter. What we are looking for is a successful career, be it in academics or be it in the professional side. So that is what we are looking for. The cases that Andre is referring, we have a client who is currently in the last round of PCG. She is an opera singer. I myself had a project mate at McKinsey who was a rowing gold medalist from Scandinavian country with zero background, literally. Yeah, I think you at least have PhD. He had not even seen the balance sheet before hitting McKinsey. And the point is that, in fact, a lot of big consulting companies have something like advanced degree program, ADPs, dedicated to those entry points of people who have with PhDs. That's one. And even those companies who do not have that, you don't need to fear that because you have PhD in anthropology and has nothing to do with business, you will have a disadvantage. No, I don't think you will have a disadvantage. One of my best friend is a healthcare partner in Greater China. He's a doctor. I mean, he was a surgeon and I did a basic consulting along with him when we both joined McKinsey. And I remember he asking me questions like, what is gross profit? Something like that. So it's absolutely has nothing to do with your background. Seriously, your profile needs to be strong. You need to have good achievements and you need to showcase the problem solving skills and good communication. That's it. I hope that answers.
Yeah, thank you, Gaurav. So another question from Wahib. I would like to know how is your network in Qatar and which companies you can help me to get in?
Well, basically, last year, by the end of the last year, we helped one of the clients who is an experienced hire to pass and receive 5 job offers out of 5 interview processes. Namely with, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was EY-Parthenon, it was PwC, it was Roland Berger, it was Bain, and McKinsey. just the very fresh example from Doha, actually. And yeah, we have pretty strong ties and connections in the Middle East, since I've also spent 2 years of my career outside of Dubai office, and still have quite a few friends, former colleagues, and our increasing number of mentees working in the region. So we could be definitely of help there. But a lot is also about your personal efforts, because at the end of the day, it's you who are going to do also the coffee chats, it's you who are going to convince people, and you need to be at your very best in the interview day. So therefore, we are helping and training you to be in your best shape. Does it answer your question? All right, perfect. Then I think we are at the point where I want to thank to the team and for you for staying with us and for being at that great webinar. Feel free to subscribe to our next webinar coming next Wednesday, where we will be tackling another different format of the case. Gaurav, do you have maybe any preferences of what that could be?
Yes, why not? We can probably this time around go with M&A, merger and acquisition.
Yeah, perfect. Then next week, we will be cracking the M&A case, which are also given pretty often in the Mbp companies and other Taiwan leading consulting firms. Looking towards to see you there, or just get in touch with our client manager, Alessa, to discuss your personal situation and to figure out what are the ways how we can help you. I would be very glad to assist you. Thanks for coming. Wishing you a pleasant evening and all the very best, and see you soon, hopefully. Take care, my dear.